Ta-da! More boxes. What? Okay, seriously. I think I kind of hinted at it a little bit the past week, but this week is scatter terrain. It is boxes. And boxes, they do really cool stuff, like nesting in on each other. I'm still kind of thinking about how many of these to make per set, but the general principle of this is going to be some amount of these boxes for every set. They're going to get tucked into that box. They all go into the little things. Ta-da! 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 So, I have 10 sets of boxes. Let's get some paint on these bad boys, huh? So we're going to get these guys spread out, and we're going to start with our traditional spritz of Rust-Oleum matte black, per the usual. And what I wanted to do with these pieces was create some really bright splashes of color on the table. So I had that kind of darker green with the stippled lighter green and the rust effects and a little bit of orange stippling on there. So I needed some variety both in color and then texture. So on this one I decided to go with a yellow, blue, red, purple, and green set for these, and I just split them into fifths since I had 10 sets. And we're just overbrushing the tar out of these, leaving the very barest of black showing at the bottom of it so that we can keep a little bit of that shadow. And then instead of using the sponge like I did on the terrain, I wanted a different texture, right? I didn't want to have that sponge texture on the terrain and also that sponge texture on the scatter terrain. I thought that would be too much of the same, so I went with the dry brush on there. And you can really start seeing it pop up some color when I hit these blues, and it gets to be it's a very bright, very almost pastel color, and you'll see that I brought out a piece of terrain to check the color reference of the terrain versus the scatter terrain to make sure that they looked appropriate for each other. And the scatter terrain was a little bit bright at this point, so the next step is going to be to take that down just a notch, because you do want it bright, you do want all those colors in there, but you don't want them to be pastel, cartoonish, and overwhelming when you're in the middle of a battlefield of the grim dark future. So we're going to splash down with an oil wash next, and you'll see me start mixing up the mineral spirits, and I think I used a burnt sienna for this one, kind of a darkish red that worked really well with the yellow and pretty well with everything else. I don't think I liked quite how it turned out on the green. I think it took those colors down just a little bit too much, but oil washes are great because you can really kind of slap it on, and then you go back with your sponge with a little bit of mineral spirits on them afterwards, and you can go wipe it down and bring some of those highlights back, and that's what I did. So we had really great depth to the color, and we pulled back in those highlights, and the last thing I did was just stipple on a little bit of brown to simulate some rust or dirt or whatever it was, and then the usual hosing down with matte varnish, because you got to do it when you're going to be beating this stuff up on a day-to-day basis. Sprish, sprish, sprish. Surprise! Templates! Nothing special. Standard templates. I am just releasing the ones that are whole this week. I will work on getting them split apart in a way that glues together well for the smaller format printers. Nothing super fancy. They do have some little nubbies. So there's a bottom and a top, and the bottom has these nubbies, so you'll want to print them smooth side down, nubby side up. The nubbies kind of grip on neoprene, and it makes it way harder for them to slide around. Let's set up this terrain. Right, so here's where the new stuff comes in. Boxes! Boxes! So these are 10 sets of the boxes, and they are all nesting. So you get pretty compact, right? This is all of them right here. And then you can just kind of start setting these up wherever you want. And I made them all the same height so that they are stackable easily. And so you'll see as you get them onto some higher stuff, like the little ones will let you stack on top of them at an equal height to the larger ones. And what that allows you to do is build some really cool multi-level terrain out of this stuff. And so you can create these little terrains, or little pieces of terrain that is, and have them stack up like so. So they become line of sight blocking, quote unquote, right? Because you know the rules talk about line of sight blocking terrain and how it all functions. So as long as it's understood how this stuff is functioning, you're all pretty good. And what I feel like this gives you is a much more alive battlefield feeling. And I really enjoy it. It's not the completed, done version of it by any stretch, I think, but I like this a lot, and I think it adds a really great layer of vibrancy to the table. So of course that does take a little bit longer to set up than just your ruins, but again, I think it really adds a layer of coolness and battlefield feeling to the table itself and stays within a competitive format, right? This is GW Layout 1. It's all within a competitive format, and you can go nuts, right? You can put this wherever you want. You can spread the terrain outside the templates. The example in this case is just the competitive version of that, because that is the idea that I have in my mind for this. And then the really cool narrative stuff where you put terrain wherever it looks cool comes as a natural consequence of that. So just like before, files are in the description below. It'll grab you the templates, it'll grab you the boxes. I printed out 10 sets of boxes here. There are 4 different sizes of boxes. They all nest into each other. And templates are GW stuff, 12 by 6, 10 by 5, 6 by 4. I'll work on cutting them into pieces for the next one, and I'll work on some WTC stuff for the one after that to make sure that those templates are in place as well. Happy printing, guys. Let me know what you think, and please hit those comments up, toss me a like and a subscribe if you think I'm earning it, and I'll see you on the next round.